This is Alice. It was made by Josh Gayou in California from Smokehouse Guitars. Josh is a very gifted man with wood. He just really. We talked about this guitar for a really long time before it was even built. I want to say December 2012. I started talking with Josh about the guitar, and it went through a lot of changes, a lot of discussion, things like that. On the inside of the box is 65-year-old walnut. It has 4 pickups. Bob Harrison made the pickups that are kind of wedged in here underneath the cap, here and here. That's what gives this guitar that really unique tone that it has. It just got this unbelievable bite. This is probably the finest cigar box guitar that I own. I mean, this thing is meant to be a player's guitar, like handle the rigors of the road, being left in vehicles, in extreme cold and things like that. It's got amazing action, but I found the box in a gig that I play in Waukesha, Wisconsin now and again, at a place called the Nice Ash. And they're a cigar bar. So you can go there and smoke cigars, and they have bands play and drink. And I saw the box, and I just fell in love with it. I pestered them until they gave me that. They give me all kinds of boxes there, and usually I have somebody turn them into great instruments. But this one, I knew instinctively that it was going to be named Alice. I just had this vision with it right from the get-go. And there's lots of numbers here. There's 18, 3, there's 32, 25, and 7. And this, what I thought was amazing is that the way that this is on the back, for the wiring, it looks like 71. But when you look at the stamp on the box, it has the number 7, the letter D, and 1. So, I mean, there's no way that anybody could have planned that. And I know that when Josh made that, it didn't, strike him that way. But it's got the Cheshire cat here smiling, and the checkerboard and the timepiece. And it's just probably one of the more delightful instruments I've ever had the pleasure of owning. It's like riding a Cadillac, or actually being on my motorcycle is what it's like. This is Sassy. It's made by John Lowe in Memphis, Tennessee. He has a shop called Xanadu Music and Books. I met John at the songwriting event, Dark Songs in Sturgeon Bay, and another one called Steel Bridge, which is, both of them are very amazing songwriting events where I mean, I'm there with very gifted people. We're there to write, and all of us are published, and all of us are doing things. I mean, it's really intense to be around that talent. I'd never seen one until Pat McDonald had played one, and John Lowe made them. And it's got a single bass string and 3 guitar strings on it. And for real, broomstick handles. The folklore of this guitar is that John wrestled not one but 2 witches to get their broomsticks to make this guitar. And something very strange and unique happened when this guitar was made. The top of this wood here is Memphis sassafras wood. When he had cut the wood, an image of this wolf came out in the wood grain. Like, and there happened to be a knot, of wood right in here where it looks like the eye. And you can see the snoot, you can see the eye and the curve. And what are you going to name a pet wolf? And I'm like, well, Sassy has got to be the way. I particularly love the kitchen counter top on the back. I don't know, is that Formica or whatever? And the hose clamp here. And it's got 2 outputs, one for the bass string and one for the guitar. And John plays in one-man band, so he'll play and he'll do the guitar and the drums and the guitar, and that's how it came about. But this guitar has had a profound and significant impact on me as a player, me as a songwriter. I know it has touched the hearts of my fans because people ask me about it all the time. I've actually had situations for both this one and Alice where people have waited in line to get pictures of the guitar, and here I am like an idiot thinking they're there for me. Oh no, they're there for my guitars. This one, it's a staple now. If typically when I tour, I'll take just 3 guitars, a spare 6-string and a 6-string than this. But lately I've only been taking this one and Alice out on the road, and they just seem to take the whooping I give them, And if you'd have asked me 5 years ago, or hell, even a year and a half ago, if I was going to be playing with these things, I probably would have laughed. That's how ignorant I was. I mean, it's a really amazing thing. I think it's probably one of the more absolutely genius inventions I've ever run across. And John's an amazing guy. And I highly suggest you ever get to Memphis, go down to Xanadu Music and Books and get yourself a Lowe. Same thing with Alice. Order one of those too. You're gonna love them. And last but not least, this is my Rosie. Rosie was my introduction to cigar box guitars. It wasn't really meant. The maker said to me several times that he never thought that the guitar would get out of his basement. But this guitar has been played in 37 states and 16 countries. It's been held by a very long list of prominent guitar players, from Chris Duarte, Samantha Fish, and many others, I might add. It was my traveling buddy. I would wake up in a hostel or whatever, and first thing I'd look for is this guitar, and my hat, we've been on many adventures together. One of my favorite of this guitar was being lost in Bangkok. I was supposed to follow somebody on a motorcycle, and it was pouring rain. So I wrapped it up in garbage bags and put it inside the case that was on my back. And I was supposed to keep up. But in the rain, when you're not used to riding it and all that stuff, you just can't see anything. And I lost him. So I was lost for a good hour in the pouring rain with this guitar. And I remember when I arrived at the gig, the house announcer was saying how he had never heard of me before. I think he was making excuses for me because he wasn't expecting much to come out of me or this guitar. And I'll never forget how he made sure to hire me for 2 more dates before I left. She's getting retired. She's going to wind up in Shane Spiel's Cigar Box Guitar Museum in Pennsylvania. It's kind of a bittersweet moment for me, but I've played it into the ground. it's the action's high because it wasn't meant to be played the way that I do, and I'm just very hard on my instruments. So I'm really excited that it's going to be looked at and by people who appreciate that kind of thing, and it can stand up proudly with the other guitars that people have played. But I'm sad to see it go. So, but yeah, that's my Rosie.